sports fans? Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
We go, ladies and gentlemen. Wild card weekend was wild, and we are ending it tonight on Steelers and Texans. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Couple minutes from now, former NFL offensive lineman, also Miami alumni, Joaquin Gonzalez. We got to talk about the national championship with Miami against Indiana. Plus also talking Cleveland Browns, Colts, and so much more happening up and into the wild card weekend. I am excited for this one. We have had an awful lot of truths that were shown out in the playoffs, and it's going to continue to get better from here. But I want to start the show off with what we watched against Jacksonville. And that was Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills advancing and once again proving to us Josh Allen is not quite out of the fight yet. So this year, which we have been saying in the entirety of the AFC, it's wide open, it's open game for every AFC team. And what that means is you're Josh Allen, you got to go in and you got to win these games. No question. There's no reason that the Buffalo Bills could not end up winning this game. And I have been really adamant of the fact that Josh Allen and company knows this is unfinished business. No Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, and no Joe Burrow. And that's one of the things that is what Josh Allen has on the back of his mind. And so I looked at how Buffalo ended up playing. I'm not quite trustworthy in that defense, as you all know. But however, I am trustworthy in Josh Allen. That's the only person that I lay all the trust on, where he's going to run the football, he's going to throw it. And by the way, the game plan in which Buffalo played was not specifically just on the run. It was more geared towards you got to pass the ball because Jacksonville's secondary was banged up outside of their pass rush and their linebackers, and Buffalo and Josh Allen figured it out. So to me, Buffalo, and what was crazy was a couple analysts ended up talking about that the winner in this game, truthfully, the winner in this game would take the AFC. And so I feel like with Buffalo, they are playing adversity ball all from here on out. And it makes a total amount of sense because you do not want to be the team, the coach, and the quarterback that missed out on an opportunity which was important. You do not want to be that. So that's my biggest takeaway up from there. And Josh Allen was able to put the team on his back as he's been doing since he's been drafted in Buffalo. And that reminded us, do not underestimate what Josh Allen is about. Physical, can throw the ball, and knows exactly how to get to him. And so Buffalo's got to feel good about themselves. Remember, Sean McDermott is holding his breath more than anything else because he realizes and he knows all the pressure is on Buffalo to get to the Super Bowl this year. And the only way they're going to do it, you got to trust Josh Allen. You got to hope the defense is going to give you big stops. And then the run game efficiency is also the other big takeaway. So Buffalo did well. And I'll talk a little bit more about Jacksonville because I give credit to what they did this season. I give a lot of credit. Liam Cohen is building this puppy where it's a 5-year project and it's going to be fun to watch this build. All right. Let's get to what unraveled in the middle of the afternoon game, and that was San Francisco and Philadelphia. And I want to start with Philadelphia here before I talk more about San Francisco because they have played adversity ball and they've also been playing with injury bugs. Sometimes there's been mistakes from Brock Purdy, but they have figured that out because offensive coaches are willing to ad-lib. That's what they do. They're creative. Sometimes it may take several different, like it's like a mathematician and sometimes even like a math teacher in your high school. Okay. The reason math always has one answer is because that's the truth. So the one answer to it is win the game. Now the question is, how do you win the game? That's where all your formulas come together. And Kyle Shanahan is arguably like a math teacher because he comes up with all different formulas, knows how to change it up, mix things up, and still gets the same result and answer. And that's a win for San Francisco. What's the downside right now for Philadelphia is Philadelphia, what they were last year and what they were this year, emotionally driven. It may have worked last year with a different coordinator, but it was not working this year with Kevin Patullo. And you and I both know he is not the answer. I got A.J. Brown screaming and yelling on the sideline at Nick Sirianni. And sometimes you got to be able to grow up, man. Like you cannot have that on your sideline. You cannot have potential dysfunction happening there on the sideline. If you're Philadelphia, I don't care who you are. And Philadelphia fans, let's be honest. They're wild. They're rowdy. They say whatever they want to about their team. But at the end of the day, nothing is much more entertaining than just watching Philadelphia be Philadelphia. You ever watch the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia? That's how I feel about the Eagles. Always emotionally driven, passionate, says whatever is up and on their mind, and they do not take it back. They don't take it back. And it's comical. Okay, I love East Coasters. I really do, because they'll say exactly what's up and on their mind, and they don't hold back. But Philadelphia, what you cannot hold back is you cannot hold back the fact that offensive coordinator just is not working. Kevin Patullo, like, you have to be honest if you're Nick Sirianni. I know it's your buddy, but you got to be honest with him. This is not going to work, and you're going to honestly have to look at a new offensive coordinator. So that is what is the struggle, and that is what will be the serious conversation come the offseason. Because A.J. Brown, I know a lot of people have talked about it, have mentioned it about it, and it's fascinating to me how emotionally driven a team can get, and then they are just unraveling up and onto the sidelines while San Francisco and Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. And by the way, they lost George Kittle in the middle of that game. He's done, torn Achilles. That sucks. And now Tonjes, who was their reliable target when he was sidelined, like, you got to get him involved. Christian McCaffrey, Juwan Jennings. And by the way, they're doing all of this without even having Brandon Ayuk. So Philadelphia, they got a lot to discuss. But bear with yourselves, okay? Philadelphia has a Super Bowl win from last year, okay? They can cap off on that. So it's not a massive deal. But you do have to realize, just like in 23 with Brian Johnson, you got to now get this guy out of town, and you got to be willing to make something work. And this was interesting. People were thinking about Matt Nagy might not actually be a bad idea because of the way that it's constructed in Philadelphia with short passes, run the ball. This will be a better running back than he's ever had in his career as a coordinator. And he'll have dual tight end sets. That's the one thing that I think is going to be crucial about Philadelphia. You have to make it work for your quarterback and for your offensive schemes. And that right there is what's going to be the biggest takeaway more than anything else. Good stuff. Joaquin Gonzalez around the corner here. We're going to be talking Miami. This national championship is going to be a lot of fun. Indiana, the U. I'm curious as to how this game is honestly going to play about, because Miami's playing with a purpose, and Indiana, they play with a lot of physicality. And Fernando Mendoza is just really good. He can distribute out the ball any and every way that he can. And that's the stuff that you and I both know is where Indiana, they want to win this game. They want to win this game more than anything else. And it's going to come down to sharp, precise throws. It's going to come down to the pass rush and where you got to instill it. So that's where I'm looking at it from here. And I cannot wait to see what that comes with. So there's a lot. There's a lot to discuss. One of those is, of course, what we watched last night between the Patriots and the Chargers. And this is where we are going to have a brutal, honest conversation. And I know it hits me hard at home. It hits me hard in Mikasa because I love Justin Herbert. I really do. But there has got to be a point where this has to be discussed. We'll talk more about that here after the break. All righty, folks. 2026 is the fun. Our partners at Fantasy love giving big-time payouts for your player pick'em. It's so much fun. The #1 player pick'em app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. Download it today. Plus, when you sign up, use promo code SNAKE for 100% deposit matchup bonus of up to $100. But also, when you sign up, you get free $5 as a free entry. That's all you got. Free $5. That's the best gift that you can get. And Payday Fantasy, we love just enjoying and showing you what the game is all about. Because player pick'ems, it's the big hit right now. It's the hottest game that goes on. Check out Payday Fantasy for yourself. PaydayFantasy.com, and download it on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store, and use promo code SNAKE for 100% deposit matchup of up to $100. Sign up, pick the player, pick the outcome, and get paid with Payday Fantasy today.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Wild card weekend is just been getting wilder. We've had such a great last few games, Saturday, Sunday, and tonight, Steelers and the Texans. I cannot wait for it. But we've also got even something special. And joining us here on the program, Miami in the national championship. It is exciting to see Miami back in it against Indiana. Joining us, former offensive lineman and Miami alumni, Joaquin Gonzalez joins us here. So how about it, Joaquin? We're back. We're back
Yes,
in it in the
sir.
national championship. And so,
Feel good to be a Hurricane.
it does indeed. It's interesting because I actually had your former teammate a while back, Bryant McKinney, who was up and on here. And, we talked about, what's different about Miami? What is the secret sauce? Mario Cristobal and company has really put this together. And after just watching what I've seen, the last couple of games, they were able to hold their opponents down from the first matchup they had to 3 points. And then you had the next matchup in which they really gave it to Ohio State, which was very surprising. And then we watched this exciting game against Ole Miss, which it came down to one possession throw. Whether PI or not, you were down to one possession throw. But at least Miami was able to hold it together, and now we're back in the national championship. So when you look at this Miami team, and I know it's got to reminisce some memories here, being in this very program and this university, but how good does that got to feel? And especially with the way this program has put themselves together here in 25 to 26.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, when you really break down the team, the biggest difference that we haven't had here in quite some time has been the trenches, right? You look at the O-line and the D-line play, and that's something that has been lacking at the University of Miami for quite some time. You look back at our last national championship team in 2001 and then '02. I mean, those were teams that were stacked with guys that could fight in the line of scrimmage. And when you have guys that can control the line of scrimmage, it really kind of sets up for you to set the tone of that game. I would say, from the, in the CFP, obviously, Ole Miss would probably be the worst game that we've played versus Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Ole Miss. But we controlled the time of possession. I think it was almost 42 minutes to 18 minutes then. And it just couldn't find, the opportunities to score. And we really probably left about 17 points on the table and dropped about 4 interceptions. So with that said, I think that, Mario has these guys kind of like breathing a little bit of that rare air, which, it's something that's been in every single championship team where it really doesn't matter what the other team does or how highly touted they are. As you could tell by, the spread against Texas A&M, the spread against Ohio State, against Ole Miss, obviously we were favored, but now even the spread against Indiana, that don't mean diddly squat. The way that these guys are playing, this is a man's game, and this is, Monday night. I think Indiana is going to face an opponent that I don't think that they've actually seen all year. And you look at their schedule, how they played against Penn State, how they played against Iowa State. Everybody seems to think that Indiana doesn't make mistakes, and everybody is, touting Indiana as a foregone conclusion in this national championship. I think the Canes are going to have something to say about that Monday night.
So, and it's interesting because I watched, Indiana, and they're making a story for themselves. A basketball program that now Kurt Signetti turning this program around to a full 360 to where he's built a culture. And now I'm watching it through the transfer portal where now they're addressing a lot of positions because they don't want to just make an impact for this year. They want to make an impact for several years. And that's what's going to be kind of scary. So my big takeaway and watching the physicality from the defense on Indiana, I watched Carson Beck up and into that game. There were times where I seen some drives where he's kind of got it rolling, and then there were some that either, drop pass or even just misread on the throw. But eventually he does get the throw to where they get into good field position. So now you're coming against an Indiana team who gave Ty Simpson nightmares, and then Dante Moore, who just was a shell of himself. What does Carson Beck have to do? Because I know it's difficult in a quarterback's eyes because you got to now play perfect ball where you got to get the right reads, the right throws, and the right decisions, and even improvise when certain things aren't matching up. What is the case for here for Carson Beck? Because I know he's got it, but it takes
Yeah,
a
I
lot for
mean,
that.
I don't think any of those teams that you mentioned have the offensive line that the University of Miami has. I mean, University of Miami has legit two first round guys with Maya Goa, Marquise Bell.
Mhm.
Our center is a second round guy. I think we probably have the most complete offensive line of anybody that Indiana has faced. And I would agree with you. I thought Carson Beck didn't have his best game against Ole Miss. I thought the first and the second quarter I think there was some inaccurate throws, but he still managed the game in such a way that gave us an opportunity to win. And that's what you want from Carson at this point. He doesn't need to put this game on his shoulders. I mean, when you have a defense the way that we do, kind of like bend and not break, it was very easy after that long run and no miss for our defense to go down on themselves. And they kind of just, held them just to field goals. And they have a very good field goal kicker Ole Miss, but that's kind of like what gave us the opportunity. I think that's what you're going to see again in this game. I think it's going to be a physical game. Indiana, yeah, Signetti did a great job in bringing everybody from JMU into Indiana. And yeah, he's a winner, and who knows if he's going to be there past this year or what the future holds for Indiana. Um, Mendoza went to my high school. I mean, I have a lot of ties to this in that respect. My son plays at the University of Miami now. He's a freshman. He's being redshirted this year. He's a quarterback. He actually backed up Mendoza in high school and his brother until his senior year when he took over the spot. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. I've been rooting for Fernando all year, including the game against Oregon. But once they won, I want to kick his ass.
Rightfully
So make
so,
no make no mistake about it. This is hurricane through and through, baby.
Oh yeah, everything's off the table from here on out, man. It's just
Yeah,
play
he's on his
ball
own.
and yep. So I will
So
tell you, wild card weekend was just fantastic. Like the Saturday, Sunday games, and then we got tonight's game with Pittsburgh and Houston. And I want to start with what I watched up against Green Bay and Chicago. Chicago has had such a really good turnaround for as long as their organization has had to deal with just bad breaks. To me, it felt like they were an organization that had the 1950s television of Monsters in the Midway, and they kept harping on that. And they're like, no, we
yeah.
got to turn this thing around. I haven't heard of once in my lifetime, at least, and even before then, where I've heard Chicago's offense be this dynamic. But after I watched what happened that game, where you're down 21-3, and all of a sudden, Caleb Williams, I know, has a lot of heat in that fastball, but yet he made the throws that he needed to. But also, Ben Johnson, I give credit for. He came in, addressed the offensive line, because not only is Caleb not turning the ball over, but they're giving protection so that there is extra time for him to make the throws. So I thought that was a very impressive comeback, but it also told you a lot more about how the healthy growth of this organization is going to be at with Ben Johnson at the helm. What do you make of it?
No, without a doubt. I think obviously, Chicago's been one of those teams that has, the luck hasn't really favored them over the years. And, specifically in the NFL, when there's so much parity amongst teams, I mean, the ability, and again, having played for the Browns, which had a stellar quarterback that just didn't have the protection at the time, and Tim Couch, and really didn't develop. And then moving on to the Colts and blocking for Peyton Manning and seeing what a good offensive line with a smart quarterback could do. And I think that's what we're starting to see in Chicago. I mean, they definitely addressed the offensive line. And when you see, Caleb Williams go back there and go through the progression and make his reads, he's finally understanding that he doesn't have to win the game on his arm. I mean, he's actually going through his progression, using his tight ends, using his backs out of the backfield, and really just moving the chains and getting yourself into good down and distances. And that's what we saw. And it gave him an opportunity to win the game there at the end. And it was great to see.
So speaking of Peyton Manning, because I know that I mean, you've been watching the narratives. I'm sure that you have. I mean, it's been blasting all from the start of the end of the game last night. But I'm about to throw some truth serum, and I don't want to be cutthroat up on this. But from an offensive line perspective, Justin Herbert, in my opinion, Joaquin, I mean, this is year 6. We're going on to year 7 with this thing. For him to be as beaten and battered as he has been all year long, I don't take away the fact that he has carried this team to go at 11-6. However, you were able to defend arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks we've seen in our lifetime. But we knew with Peyton, he was able to ad-lib and he was able to change things up because there were things he was seeing that was not quite right, that knew we needed to change this up to get better protection. For Justin Herbert, my argument is you're 0-3 in the playoffs right now. And I mean, we all remember Peyton in his first 3 playoff games, and that wasn't like, we all know the story there. However, there are times when you are a quarterback that you got to take matters up and into your own hands, regardless if injuries have plagued up, the offensive line hasn't quite executed the way that it has. I mean, what really is the median on this? Because people are already saying the narratives. Justin Herbert's not the guy. He's not that talented. And at times it's like when you lead, you got to lead by example, and you got to take the ball into your hands and make something out of nothing. But then also it's hard to do that when you got a banged up offensive line and there's not a whole lot of time and protection from that. What's kind of like your personal perspective and experience? Where does it really lie in the middle with this?
So it's funny because the Chargers is one of the teams that we keep an eye on, and there's so many correlation down here living in Miami that the Dolphins make that they should have picked up Herbert versus Tua. And when you look at his stats, I think that when you look at the NFL, you have to break down kind of like who he is as a player. So as a quarterback, the guy could play. The guy could definitely play. He's got that arm strength. He's got the poise. He's got the moxie to be a starter and a very good one at that. And at times he's showcased that. I really put this back on kind of the coaching staff with the Chargers and what are they asking him to do? Are they asking too much of him, specifically when they have a battered offensive line? I mean, I saw that game and this guy was running for his life. I mean, there was a couple of vicious shots there where, at this point in your career, I mean, Peyton Manning never got touched. He was smart enough to know when he could get rid of the ball. Does he have those outlets in with the Chargers? Are they game planning, knowing that they have a weak offensive line and giving him some outlets and some reads where he could do some checkdowns and get himself out of those situations where he's holding the ball for more than 2.5, 3.5 seconds because you know that you don't have the protection to cover you. And again, it's that detailed in the NFL. That's one of the things that was so eye-opening to me moving from college, and I played at a very big-time college in the University of Miami, but moving on to the NFL, understanding how they break down the game literally to milliseconds from the snapper to the holder, from the snapper to the tee where they kick the ball, from where you take your third step as an offensive tackle and where the quarterback is in his progression. So the fact that they haven't been able to use his raw talents more effectively to get him further into the playoffs, I think I put that on Harbaugh and see, what more can you get? Because what more can you ask from Herbert? And again, obviously you can tell that I'm a Herbert fan. I don't think this is solely on him. He's got to make better decisions, but you also got to put him in areas to succeed.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I am a Charger fan at heart since I was 7, so I usually don't show it here. But to me, it's like there's a few emotions going on. It's like, damn it, I just want to see like the playoff win to exercise the demons he's got. But then the other part of me is like, get him some help. I also know we saw this problem in your other division rival, Baltimore, with Greg Roman being up over there with Lamar Jackson. So it's like there's kind of got to be more added context.
It could be worse. You could be a Dolphin fan. They haven't won a playoff game in 23 years.
You're right. But you know what, though? I mean, the Dolphins, if they could get the right guy, I'm feeling like you got to get a culture guy in this building. If you can get that, I think Miami, and you got to come to terms with Tua because you got to have the right guy up and in there. I know he's shown flashes, but there's got to be a little bit more than that. But I also want to
Absolutely.
see some grit up and on here. I haven't seen that in quite a while, but if they can do
Yeah.
that, they'll be in good shape. One thing I want to talk about, because one quarterback that we know is going through all the pressure on his shoulders, and yet he proved all of us wrong against Jacksonville. That's Josh Allen. So Buffalo, they're hanging on the thread because we all know Josh, this is the open opportunity with no Mahomes, no Burrow, and no Lamar. But we also know Sean McDermott, you cannot be in a position to where you scale back because we've seen this hundreds of times. The defense at times starts scaling back when they know they need to shut down and defend. And then with Josh Allen, he takes matters into his own hands and says, I'm going to win the game my way, one way or another. But I give credit to Jacksonville, however. What a turnaround this has been. This looks like a really good, healthy 5-year plan. But for Buffalo, this showed you anything is possible. And this shows this may be the year that Josh Allen could actually get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw that. I mean, I was glued to my TV all weekend long. All the games were great, to be quite honest. The worst game was the Indiana Hoosier versus Oregon game. That really didn't provide any excitement, unless you're an Indiana fan. But yeah, it's funny. I've been part of those teams where um, when I was with the Browns, our first year there, we actually made it to the playoffs. It was our first playoff appearance back ever since they had left. And we were up 28-0 at halftime and ended up losing that game 34-31. And you saw a little bit of that, again, from my experience seeing in Buffalo, where the coverage was so soft that allowed a very good and solid Jacksonville team, to really drive the ball downfield in certain in key occasions. The good thing is that Buffalo does have Allen that can come in and obviously win the game and put it on his shoulders. But if they're going to get deep into these playoffs and win a Super Bowl, like they have the team to do so, I think a lot of times coaches get in their head going, hey, we got to be conservative. And they shy away from the game plan that they designed to go attack. Because when you start the game, you're 0-0 and you're attacking on both sides of the ball and trying to take shots. And when you kind of sit back and you kind of like, well, let's let them make the mistakes, I think it puts you in a very vulnerable position where a lot of guys are in that soft coverage and all of the underneath routes start happening. Before you know it, they've made 4 or 5 first downs. All of a sudden the field is flipped and you're giving up 3 points even if you stop on a third down.
Absolutely. And now they're going to be coming out here to where I'm at in Denver. And so I'm excited to see what that looks like because Denver and the altitude, it's not an easy place to end up winning at. So it's gritty and grind all the way through. Two fiery questions before letting you go. So number one, I want to address this. I have the utmost respect in some aspects when it comes to the Cleveland Browns and your former organization. But here's my thing. When Kevin Stefanski got fired, I mean, 2-time coach of the year, there's been lots of narratives between the Dylan Gabriel, the Shedeur Sanders thing. But to me, the way I look at it is a lot of this has a lot to deal with what Jimmy Haslam did. And that was you brought in Deshaun Watson, you tried to do this experiment, it didn't work. And now Baker Mayfield, regardless if Tampa Bay ended up missing the playoffs, they have a lot of success. He's got confidence and he loves it there. But it's all about healthy structure at the end of the day. Andrew Berry is still standing here. And the reason I'm like, Andrew wants to win with the amount of draft capital he's put together and then addressing the important spots because Joel Bitonio is probably going to be retiring. You're going to have to readdress the offensive line and get impactful players in this building. And then I look at the quarterback position. Shedeur, to me, has accuracies, but there's parts of, do you trust this kid to give the keys to the Ferrari with and make sure he doesn't crash it? So that's one of the biggest parts. But I also believe if you get the right respected coach up in here, then the only thing that has to be drawn is Jimmy, you're providing the money. You're giving us exactly what we need. Let us be able to go out, draft these guys, address it in free agency, and get us back to where we were beforehand, before everything started collapsing up from here. So what's your take on this offseason for Cleveland and what they need to do to get back on track?
Man, I've been there, and the biggest thing
Uh-oh. Oh, it looks like the media ended up cutting off. I don't know what happened. All right, we'll await to see what happens up from here. But man, I was so geared up for that question because I couldn't wait. Yeah. Joaquin Gonzalez, ladies and gentlemen. We'll wait until he gets his media feedback up. But yeah, it's a pretty hard conversation for sure. But it's one of those conversations that you really have to think outside the box and really kind of see it for what it is. And I think, to really talk about it when it comes to the cadence and when it comes to the improvisation and the audible type deal with Justin Herbert is when you lead by example, the thing of it is you're not always going to have that Superman cape on your back and that Superman S on your chest every time. But there has to be a point in which you've got to be able to take matters into your own hands, change things up, and find ways to see what's happening in front of you and make the change. Because otherwise, it's not going to be fun. And right now, it's not fun for Justin Herbert. That is the hardest thing that now we're coming into this, we're coming into this conclusion. And so I believe that the Chargers can get it done, but matters of which, how are they going to do that in order to get it done? That's the serious question. So I think, there's a lot they have to discuss because Greg Roman, for one, the state of the offensive line is another, especially when you're thinking about Mekhi Becton and Bradley Bozeman and Zion Johnson and a lot of these guys up front, because you can have the great tackles with Alt and Slater, but if you're getting blown up and beaten up front, that's where it's going to be the issue. All right, we got the media back up from here. All right, Joaquin, I know we had a little technical difficulty up from there, but we'll go on ahead.
Yeah, no worries. I was going to say that, I've been at the Cleveland Browns, and one of the biggest things is being able to get the right free agents in the building. It's going to require, like you just mentioned it, a stout coach, somebody that people trust that could turn that around. Because that's one of the things that Cleveland has always lacked is the ability to bring in a lot of the free agents. And I'm not talking about the big names, like obviously Deshaun Watson, you paid him a boatload of money. Obviously he's going to come, but I'm talking about the guys that are still trying to make a statement in the NFL that are chasing some of those bags. I think if you were to bring in a coach that could actually command that sort of presence and fill the gaps, because man, we've had really good players and Pro Bowl style players at every position, from tight end, defensive line, linebackers. I mean, you name it, offensive line, Joe Thomas, Mr. I never get hurt. So it's just a shame that Cleveland hasn't been able to kind of put it all together. And I really kind of put it on the leadership. I think you said it best when you said, Jimmy Haslam, marrying himself to Deshaun Watson, and then the fiasco that turned out to be. Even the coaching staff, you guys had, or they had Rob Chudzinski, and lasted about a year, and a guy that was a proven winner at different levels, and they only gave him a year. And then, even last year, one of my teammates and one of my best friends, Ken Dorsey, he goes in there as kind of like the OC, but Stefanski took over the play calling when Deshaun Watson was on the field. And once he got hurt and he didn't play anymore, he turned it over to Ken Dorsey. And then they actually had a great passing game last year. The running game was lackluster. And then they let go of the whole entire staff on the offensive side as well. So I think there are definitely questions in terms of the leadership and who's leading that team. And obviously that's why Stefanski's not there. But hopefully they can bring in somebody that could kind of, appease that situation and get guys in the NFL to want to come to Cleveland to win a championship there.
100% agree. Well, here's the question we got to ask, because we know a division rival, Pittsburgh Steelers, playing tonight. Who do we got tonight? Because I'm feeling Houston. They got a great pass rush, But I also look at the nostalgic look of Aaron Rodgers, in which we know Pittsburgh hadn't won a playoff game since 16. And so that's what's going to be the hardest part. So what do you think tonight?
I saw a stat right before I jumped on here, which says the Pittsburgh Steelers have not lost a Monday night game. I think it's something like 24 years or
Yep.
something like that. You can't go against that. I'm taking the Steelers all the way home. As much as I despise the Steelers, you don't understand. I truly am a brownie. I was at that game. I was the starting tackle in our playoff game where we were up 28-0 and Kelly Holcomb threw for 588 yards and we lost 34-31 at Pittsburgh in the wild card game. So I've been in a game like this, but it's hard to go against what history is telling you here. I think Pittsburgh pulls it out.
Man, absolutely love it. It's going to be a fun night, but man, anything is possible up from this point on, but let's see what we get here tonight. Appreciate you for coming on by here, Joaquin. Good luck to the U, because this is going to be a big game up from here. And so let's see what happens. Miami,
let's make it happen
Indiana,
on Monday, baby. Our 6th one, baby. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, right, man. Enjoy the rest of the start of the year, man, and we'll see you soon. All right. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I mean, the fact of the matter is like, when you think of Cleveland and my co-host Chase, like, diehard Cleveland fan, understands and knows, like they have the talent, they have the stuff, but it's the matters of making it consistent, trying to end up, they've been trying and experimenting on so many things, but it's just like, is it really worth teetering with at times? Because I watch Cleveland in multiple spurts up from here, and I've seen their best, I've seen their worst, and all I know is that with Myles Garrett and with that defense they have, I mean, you really got to think about it. I mean, it's all going to be put on the table up from here, but they really have to be smart with it, and especially when they got 2 first-round picks. So I'm excited to see this. All right, so I did want to touch back onto the subject with Justin Herbert, because here's the thing. So I have the splits up in front of me. Peyton Manning in his first 3 playoff games was 50 of 104 with 48% completion percentage, 558 passing yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, and did not have a playoff win. However, with Justin Herbert, 54.7 completion percentage, 674 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So my takeaway is this. Justin Herbert is getting a lot of the scrutiny. He's getting a lot of the heat that's thrown his way. And rightfully so. And I get it. I absolutely understand it. But the thing about this is that you have to have the ability to find ways to ad lib. And I did not see it from last night. I watched a whole lot of anxiety from Justin Herbert in that game. And this offensive line, which was by far god awful to every single extent, and they had nothing to show for. Like, they were last in a lot of categories. They were bottom 5. And this is without Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. And what's hard about this is why they need to figure out the offensive play caller. Because Greg Roman, in 6 playoff games as an offensive coordinator for the Ravens and Chargers, his teams were 1-5 in those tilts. Because in five playoff games with Herbert and Lamar Jackson under center, Roman has put up 3, 12, 3, 20, and 12 points. That's not good enough. And to me, that's setting itself up for failure than it is of success. And honestly, Jim Harbaugh is smart enough to actually figure that out. So this is also where it becomes a brutal, serious conversation. And my big takeaway with this is that Justin Herbert, as of right now, and I know this is going to really hurt some people's feelings, but as of right now, I don't consider him to be a top 10 quarterback in my eyes until it's proven otherwise, because everyone in this building is held accountable up from here. Okay, I know a lot of people think that's unpopular and that's unfair of me to say, but it's the truth. You have to be willing to ad lib. You have to be willing to change things up. Because, like Joaquin mentioned, which was perfect, he defended Peyton Manning on the line, saw every bit of the way he audibled and the way he communicated to his offensive line. And with Justin Herbert, he needs a lot of help. And I mean, the way in which I see this and what's going to be hard is Jesse Minter is already getting head coaching offers. And you got to come to grips with this. Because even this is the hardest thing to do. You got to be brutally honest. I mean, Jesse Minter is head coach ready. That's why when they put out that whole post of him going back to Michigan and college, why? There's no point in it. You're making an awful lot of money in the NFL. Why would you want to go backwards up and into college? It makes no sense. So I really am hoping they figure this out. But as of right now, I don't see it in my eyes. And until it's proven otherwise, you can have off seasons all day, but ultimately it becomes the results on the field. So that's why with this, Justin Herbert is going to get criticized, scrutinized, and so many other things in the book because of just the way that it was. He didn't turn the ball over. However, fumbles, I mean, I get it with a broken hand, but that's hard. And he's been carrying this team for quite a while. It's time to start giving him some help on the line. Drake May, in my opinion, because this wasn't even the best work of Drake May at all. However, what it didn't stop is it didn't stop Mike Vrabel from adjusting a lot of big-time pieces up and on defense, especially when it came to the defensive scheme plans. I mean, Robert Spillane and everybody was getting after Herbert in that banged-up offensive line. So the Patriots, what's fascinating about this is, and they're going to be playing the winners of Houston and Pittsburgh. What's fascinating about this game is New England has had such a 360 turnaround post-Brady. A lot of that comes from Mike Vrabel, competent coach that Robert Kraft knew he screwed up on the minute that he hired Jerod Mayo to be the head coach. What I'm seeing from Mike Vrabel is grittiness and determination. And that's where New England, with the money that they've spent and what they've got left, and even with the draft capital that they will have, are going to address some pieces. Because that's what's going to be important moving forward into their future. But Drake May clearly has a really good case for his season. And what it also is, they've got their franchise quarterback, wide receivers. You can add a few more. And the run game certainly is going to be the question mark, because the run game, there were times where they couldn't even get a whole bunch of efficient runs. But all it took was for them to play situational football, and that's exactly why Mike Vrabel got the job. Grit, able to play situationally, that's what it came down to. I give all the credit to New England. I mean, very impressive win. I mean, it wasn't Drake May's best night, but that doesn't cease to matter, does it? We're going to take a break here. I do want to end up giving a shout out to Jacksonville here and tell you what I believe will be the big focal point into the next few years ahead in their future. Be back here.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket, and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com, and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
Man, I'm excited for tonight's game. Texans, Steelers. But I really am thinking, because there are obviously 8 coaching jobs that are open as of tonight. And what I will give credit to, and even though that they had lost to Buffalo, that doesn't mean that they will not have a bright future ahead of them as time rolls on. The Jacksonville Jaguars really shocked us in multitude of ways, because what Liam Cohen was able to do with, as far as refining the offense, there are still at least a couple pieces that they can address. The hardest part in which the pill they have to swallow is, like, you don't have a first round pick. You gave that pick up to Cleveland. And is it worth it with Travis Hunter? So they're going to be getting him back healthy. But Jacksonville has a really good thing going for them. They've got the right guys that are either moving into or are just starting into their prime. The other part is, I love their run core with Travis Etienne and Bashil Tutin. That's a really good running core. And Tutin was running all over the place against Buffalo. The only problem is that Trevor Lawrence, into certain aspects, was not quite as sharp. Had a couple turnovers, but those can be corrected. In fact, Liam Cohen, since he's been there, like, he was able to address the issues at hand before, like, the playoffs even started, and then it came all the way up to this point. So Trevor Lawrence, 18 of 30, 207 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And he had a passer rating of 86. So Trevor Lawrence this year, what I find incredible, 4,000 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, and 12 picks. Like, these are not bad numbers. And this is the best season we've seen Trevor Lawrence in since he came to the league as a number 1 overall pick. And so that's where I give credit, where credit is due with Jacksonville, because they were able to get pressures. They were able to stop the runs. They were able to keep possession on their side when it came to offense, running the football. Jacoby Myers really is looking like a hit as a trade pick. And everybody else, they're going to move into this same situation where they're going to be primed up and ready for next year. Liam Cohen, in my opinion, gets all the credit from me. This was a really good turnaround. I don't see that very often. I've watched this team with from 2017 when they had Doug Marrone. Yeah, remember that? I mean, this is a lot better. The only difference is Liam Cohen eventually will get his first playoff win as a coach. But I thought that was a great turnaround. It was a great turning year for Jacksonville. They deserve all the credit up and into the world, regardless of the way that this outcome was. Josh Allen clearly was the better quarterback situationally, and it made sense, and it happened, and it worked. So Jacksonville's got a bright future ahead of them. I'm not going to knock them too heavy up on this. So the thing is, I'm watching all these teams, and I've also watched a lot of what's happening right now in the NFL with coaching jobs. Like I said, I think Atlanta, Kevin Stefanski could be a really good option up from there. They just finished up with Harbaugh and their interview. Mike McDaniels had a bunch of different coaching interviews. The other thing is, you now have other coaches that are also looking up and into coaching jobs themselves. And the other thing is because we're still not even done yet until the coaching carousel starts. Because coordinators can be fired. Philadelphia, the Chargers, maybe. What does this mean now for Green Bay? Because Green Bay, listen, you'd be dumb to walk away from Matt LaFleur. Since he became the coach of Green Bay, they've been to the playoffs almost every year. Okay, only the Aaron Rodgers year, like the last year he's been there at Green Bay, was by far the hardest year. And nobody's going to deny that. But to sit here and say that Matt LaFleur really isn't the answer, I mean, look, this happens. This happens all the time. And the fortunate part is that the NFC will see similar teams every year, and we'll also see new teams that come in with different momentums and different changes, like different shifts. So Green Bay, I said, you lost Micah Parsons, and he'll be back next year, hopefully fully healthy. They said it's a guarantee week 3 or 4 next year that he'll be fully healthy. He'll be ready to go. You'll get your mojo back. But Green Bay, as we've said, Matthew Golden has something really, really special in him. And it's a young receiving core. You also got to run the football pretty hefty. The offensive line could use a little bit of adjustments, but Green Bay is a patient organization. They don't make changes out of emotions. They look at exactly what their situation is, and they will find ways to strike it. Okay, small town. So I'd be weary of it. The Rams, here's the thing. I watched that game, and I thought the Panthers, I mean, they put up a fight. But the problem of it was situational execution is what changed. Because the Rams went in, Matthew Stafford able to throw the football, take risks, and Colby Parkinson comes away with it for the touchdown. And then Bryce Young, he had a pretty good postseason. Like, that's not bad. The only difference of it was the Rams were smart enough where Chris Shula, their DC, they blitzed because they knew we trust our defense enough. We're going to come in as the attackers on the pass rush, and we're going to make Bryce Young so uncomfortable that he has to force a throw in order to get by us. Because we know the special teams is suspect for the Rams. They got no closer out there. And on top of that, the secondary, okay, not bad. But all I know is that Sean McVay, he absolutely loves situational ball more than anything. And that's why you traded for Matthew Stafford. Point blank, period. That's all it takes. So I have a lot of respect for that. But there are definitely question marks. Don't get it twisted. There's question marks going into the divisional round where some teams, I mean, you got the Rams who are going to be facing Chicago. You've got Seattle and San Francisco, and then you've also got the Patriots against the winner of tonight's game, and then the Broncos and Bills. So again, anything could happen, but lots of narrative changes, lots of different outcomes and aspects, and that's what I'm excited for. By the way, update, of course, up in college football, which we were awaiting to see what happened, but after that butt whooping that Oregon took from Indiana for them to go into the national championship, I have a feeling, and I don't know what could happen, but I have a feeling it's going to be quite possible that that Dante Moore is going to end up declaring for the draft after we just ended up hearing that Dylan Raiola, that Nebraska quarterback, he is now committed to Oregon. And let me tell you something. The power of the NIL, more than anything else, has its own influences. It does. Because Dylan Raiola comes from a physical, in-your-face, trench warfare conference in the Big Ten. And my big takeaway is that Oregon, I mean, they were outplayed physically by Indiana, no question. And then on top of everything else, you're bringing in Dylan Raiola, who I think talent-wise, and what I see from Dan Lanning in the same ways that I've seen when Bo Nix was there out of Auburn, and the way I've seen Dante Moore out of UCLA, there were very much different changes as far as quarterback play has been since they've been in Oregon. The only difference is, has it converted that to be a national title? That's the other thing you also have to take into consideration. So Dante Moore is talented, but after what we watched, he was pressurized. He did not know what exactly to do and what to expect out of that pass rush from Indiana. They gave it to him. They gave him hell. So it is going to be interesting to watch the future of Oregon with Dan Lanning and how this may work out with Dylan Raiola if this becomes the case. But Dante Moore has to be the one to make that decision for himself. Either he declares, I mean, if he stays, that might shake some things up pretty wildly, because now what's that going to do for Dylan Raiola, who just committed? So I think Oregon, they got a lot of things to work on. They got a lot of things to think about defensively. They're going to have to address a few things up and into the transfer portal, but as it looks like, Sam Levitt is going to LSU. I'm actually pretty excited about that one because, I mean, you're moving on from Garrett Nussmeier, and then you also, what's hard about Arizona State is, like, what do they do from here? I mean, watching Sam Levitt in the college football playoff and now potentially teaming up with Lane Kiffin at LSU, getting some really good playmakers in LSU could be very different. And I think Sam Levitt, he could be one of those top quarterbacks amongst John Mateer and Lenora Sellers and DJ Lagway. Like there's some truth to this. So, but this is what's always been classic, and what I think is also now the new tradition of NIL in college football, is that this is what it's going to come down to. This is what happens. So we just got to wait and see and prepare for that, and that's what I'm excited for next year. All righty, folks, that's going to do it here for us on the show. Shout out to Joaquin Gonzalez. That's his offensive alignment. He pumped up from Miami as the Miami fan watching the show. When Mark Parson, former NFL pro, is going to be joining us here up on Wednesday, I'm excited for his input. what we've seen from Wild Card Weekend and what we'll see after tonight's game with Pittsburgh. They're up 3-0 thus far. Enjoy the game tonight. Take care of yourselves. And we'll see you guys Wednesday night here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. Take care, everyone.